Hi everybody, welcome to the dungeon. My name is Robin and today is Flameworking 102.32. Today I have a super fantastic color to share with you all. It is Clio by Double Helix, and it's new to me, so I've been practicing with it, and everything I've been making just comes out so beautiful with this color. It's highly infused with silver, and it just gives the most amazing effects. I am using the 101.53 technique, color syncing. That's how I'll get all the spikes in this glass. And on a side note, I just wanted to let you all know that I will be taking a few weeks off for the rest of the holiday. I am in desperate need of just some R&R so I can bring you some more great lampworking content. With that said, Patrick and I just want to express how grateful we are to all of your subscribing, your likes, your comments, your sharing, and your super thanks. It truly has kept our channel alive. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We hope you have the best holiday season this year. And on that note, I hope you're all doing safe and well out there. Thanks so much for joining me, and I will see you next time in the dungeon. All right, I am going to be using a slightly larger mandrel this time. This is going to be a big hole bead, and my mandrel is 1/4 inch, and it's 10 inches in length. A little bit shorter than I prefer. I like a 12-inch mandrel, but you know, sometimes you just gotta make it work. So I wanna make sure that the mandrel's nice and hot before I add the glass. And I'm gonna be adding a little bit of white glass on the mandrel as my base color. And I will do my best to just get a full wrap on there. And then I'm going to add a little extra on top. Just wind it up there. Get it nice and hot, and we will start to very gently roll this out. As I'm rolling it out, you can see that it is not quite perfectly in alignment on the edges, but sometimes you just have to do your best to push things where they need to go. So once you have a decent kind of barrel-shaped bead here, I'm going to add a little extra glass to one side of it, just so it's a slightly wider. And then I'll go ahead and heat that up real nice. And because the left side is a little bit on the cooler side, it gives me somewhere to kind of push the glass in line with. So everything is the same width all the way around. Okay, now once we have a nice little bead here, what I want to do is start to add the Clio on top. And like I said in the beginning, this is a really magical color. It's so beautiful, highly infused with silver, and it starts out as a really beautiful red base. And I'm just going to start to wrap from one edge of the white all the way over to the other edge, and then I'll just cast away. I do notice that on the left side it looks a little bare, so I will just add a little bit more where I need to. All right, and once I have all of the color on there, I'll just go ahead and start to roll it out and then just round it out, smooth everything out. I will use my butter knife here to kind of coax the edge of the Clio around to the mandrel and make it look nice and smooth. And I'll do that to the other side as well. So I'm really kind of checking my edges here. And then I'll just spend a little bit of time heating everything up until it's nice and round like this. And this will be the beginning of the bead. So before I push forward, what I want to do is give this color a nice reduction. So I'm going to turn down the oxygen on my flame a little bit until I have that nice bright yellow candle. And then I'll go ahead and flash my bead in there a couple of times until I notice the surface getting a little different, I guess. until I see it starting to get some reaction there, or some reduction. And then I'm going to let that cool down a little bit, and on top of that we're going to give it a full coating of clear. And I'll start from one side and just kind of work my way over to the other side. I had to use more than one rod of clear here because I was using some shorts. So I just had to continue with some fresh rods of glass until the whole thing is nice and coated. And we're just looking for one coating of clear at this point. And I am just going all the way from one edge to the other. And once that is all on there, I will go ahead and start to just melt everything in. You can use your graphite pad if you need to smooth things out, or your butter knife. Either way, you're just looking for a nice smooth shape here. I'll use my graphite pad to kind of pull those edges in as well. All right, I'm just going to give this a nice super heat here, and because I have already reduced the Clio, you will start to see that reduction happening underneath the clear here. All right, so now it's time to do some color syncing, and you can see how the color has that slight kind of bluish purple haze to it. It's just incredible. So what I want to do, I'm going to start out by, I have pulled a very thin stringer of the Reichenbach multicolor dark. And I'm going to be, it could be any color, okay? But I'm going to be adding some tiny, tiny dots all the way around the equator of the bead. I think I counted about 9 all the way around. Don't worry if they're not perfect. It's okay. This bead doesn't have to be perfectly spaced apart or anything like that. So just have fun while you're doing this. Okay, so now when I do the color syncing, I will heat up each little dot of color individually, get it nice and hot, and then using your tungsten pick, push nice and deep right in the center of that color so the whole dot of color is plunged into your glass. It's super easy. The most important thing is that your dots are very, very tiny. And if you need to go into one of these more than once, it's okay. Go ahead and do that. You might get maybe 2 little spikes in there, but and that did happen to me a couple of times. The whole running of this bead was probably about 45 minutes. The bulk being this whole color syncing technique. So once I've done with the first round of color syncs, I will go ahead and add my second round of dots. So, and the reason why I do this is so as I am spot heating each dot, there aren't other dots around that are also melting. If you want to add all of your dots first and then do all the plunging, you can do that too. I just thought, I don't know, this is just how I ended up making this bead, is adding each row and then plunging each row of dots. But as you can see, it's, like I said, super easy. You're just spot heating each dot and pushing it very deeply into the clear glass, which goes from the clear glass into the Clio. And then I'll go ahead and heat everything up just enough to warm it up, keep the bead warm, and then add my next row. This is probably one of the simplest beads I've done, but because we're using this beautiful silver infused color, it just makes it look, to me, it kind of reminds me of the cloud that surrounds the Horsehead Nebula. That's why I called it a nebula bead, because it just reminds me of outer space and those clouds of dust that are out there. Okay, so we're on the edge here, and I'm just kind of pushing those bits of color in as deep as I can go. And now we have our final row on the other side. So you'll notice when I need to and when it's convenient for me, I will turn my bead around. I'll turn the whole mandrel around to get to the easier end for me to work on. And then here is our last little row of color sinks. You can use this with any color to begin with. You can use any color for the base bead or for the dots. And once we are done with all of our color sinking technique, we will go ahead and just melt everything down. Make sure that your bead is completely smoothed out at this point. You don't want to trap any bubbles in here at all. And if you need to, go ahead and work those edges a little bit. Keep everything nice and shapely. And once we're done melting everything down, we're going to let that cool down just for a few seconds. And then we will go ahead and add another layer of clear on top. And we're going to do it the same way we did it the first time. We'll start on one edge of the bead, and I'm just kind of wiggling my glass in the flame back and forth so it soaks up the heat a little quicker. And as I move over, I'm kind of giving it a big spiral, and I am overlapping as I go. So this is different type of encasing than your swipe on the side encasing. You are doing this encasing in a big spiral. All right, and once we're at the edge, I'll just go ahead and get real close to that mandrel and then cast away. And then the rest is just all about heating and shaping. So I'm going to start my shaping out in the flame and using my graphite pad to kind of gently push down the equator bit and smooth all that down first. And then I'll start to work my edges and get that glass to kind of pull into where the mandrel is using the butter knife. Love that tool. And I'll go ahead and start working the other edge here. It's interesting when you're working on a larger mandrel. It's not much bigger than the 3/32 of an inch mandrel that I use, but it's big enough to make a difference. So it's very interesting. All right, anyway, this is our bead. We are pretty much finished here. I'm just heating it up and rolling it out, and that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this spectacular bead and the color. I am so happy to bring it to you, and thanks all for watching, and we'll see you soon in the dungeon.